welcome to She Games, the channel where I talk about board games, Magic the Gathering, trading cards, and other games in commonplace language. Today we're going to be talking about the keyword flying. We're going to be going through some specific scenarios so that you can better understand the benefit of flying and also what it actually does. Turns out it's a little bit more complex than it seems like it is at first. Okay, so we have the attacker on the left and the blocker on the right. We're gonna say that the attacker is gonna be player 1 and player 2 will be the blocker for the sake of these battles. We're going to start with two ways that if you are blocking with a flying card, it actually could die. So let's look at them first. The first situation is this. If you have a flyer, let's call him flying number 1, and he's got a toughness and power of 2/2. And he goes on and attacks flyer from player number 2 and attacks that card which has a toughness and power of a 1/1. What's going to end up happening here is that this first flyer from attacker is going to overpower the attacker from player 2 and eliminate them, and ultimately end up with player 2 losing 1 point. Deals 1 point damage to player. And that card is now eliminated. Alright, let's look at another situation. Situation number 2 is going to be another one that ends up with the flyer dying. Yeah, this situation is going to be if you attacked with the ground. If you attacked with the ground, that was 2/2 against a flyer, let's say 1/1. In this situation, your flyer would also die. That's because something on the ground can attack something in the sky. Think about a trebuchet wanting to aim and attack and fire at something like, I don't know, a jet. Could it do it? It's going to be relatively straightforward for something on the ground to attack something that's in the air. And for something in the air, like a jet, to block something that's on the ground, like in this situation. So what happens as a result is that it's the same as the higher one. We end up having 1 point damage to the player. So far so good. Hey, if you're getting value out of this channel, remember to hit that like button, and if you're new and you want to see more of this content, make sure that you subscribe down below. Thanks. So let's get to a situation where both the cards die. Yeah, not so good, right? We want to make sure we know what this situation is. So the situation where your card is a flyer, let's say that it's a 2/2, and they also decide to block you with a 2/2. Maybe it's the only card they have. Well, this situation is going to result in two things, which I'm assuming this is better for you. Maybe it's the end of the game and it's a close call. Both cards would die here because a flying card can block a non-flying card. Now obviously this, because a flying card can block a flying card. But this obviously right here is a choice. Remember, blocking is always a choice. In these last three examples, example 1, example 2, and example 3, I've been assuming that you are choosing to block, but you don't gotta. We're assuming that here. So if player 2 assumes to make this block, we would end up with 0 points damage to the player. Okay, let's look at another example. This example is going to be a little bit more exciting now. This example I think is really important because it's easy for new players to get confused when they hear these rules and how do they apply. So first we're going to talk about in situation 4, if you were attacking with a flyer again. Let's call it F1 for player 1. And your flyer has a power and toughness, of 2/2. And you're going off to attack the player, and they block you with their flyer. Good choice, right? Only different from our last example where they blocked you with the same power. This time they're going to block you with a higher power. Well, what's gonna happen there? They chose to block you. Flyer can block a flyer, so in this situation what's going to happen is you gon' die. Player 1 is done. However, player 2 did survive, but they only have 1 health left. So we're gonna say F2 survives with 3/1. They still have 3 power, that doesn't change, but their health is down to 1. Here's another situation that's kind of similar and a little bit tricky to get your head around. Let's say that you attack with the ground. And I know ground isn't a formal terminology in Magic the Gathering, but here we're going to say it is to differentiate between some mundane creature with no special abilities that does not have flying or anything like trample or anything. And so this ground creature is going to have 2 power, 2 toughness. And player 2 is going to choose to block, and they're going to choose to block with a flying creature yet again. And this flyer will also have a 3/3 power and toughness. Well, what's going to happen here is going to be similar to the situation we saw earlier. Ground can attack something that flies. Remember this? Well, ground can attack the sky again. However, the sky is able to defend itself. This guy's gonna die because 2 minus 3 is -1. I feel like Khan Academy right now. This guy over on the right is going to survive, which is very exciting. So we're going to have F survives with a 3/1 yet again. So you might be noticing there's some similarities between these 2 rows, which is why I said that they were similar. Let's keep going. This is the last example, and this is probably the biggest reason why flying is a benefit and why people like these cards. This last example, let's say that we have a flyer that's a 2/2 and it's attacking. Remember, a flyer can only be blocked by a flyer or someone with reach. They can't be blocked by the ground. And so let's say player 2 only has ground cards. Well, because they only have ground cards, they are ineligible to block. They can't even bring anybody to the table to block. They are totally up creek without a paddle. So since that's the case, they're not gonna go away. They're actually gonna stay there and be fine. They're gonna be totally okay to survive and be happy. What is going to happen though is this is going to bypass them and go straight to the player, resulting in, a full 2 points damage to the player. Wow, that's pretty exciting, right? So let's look back at all 6 of these different strategies here. The first 2 were great because they did have damage going to the player, but if we look at them, the blocker blocked with something less than what the attacker came at them with. I don't feel like that's a very popular situation unless you're really desperate and just don't want to take full damage. Or maybe you're trying to throw away a card. I don't know, you tell me down in the comments. Situations 4 and 5 are similar in that they decrease the health of the cards you're attacking, which is good to help get rid of a flying card, I suppose. But option 6 is where the real magic happens. So pay attention to when your opponent has a flying card and when they don't. And if they don't have a flying card, attack them with your flying card and it'll bypass and go straight to them, not any of their cards. Okay, thanks so much for sticking around. Remember, if you got value out of this video, hit that like button. And if you want to see more of it, hit subscribe so that I know you like what I'm putting out. Thanks for coming around, and I hope you enjoy your stay. See you next time.